Hi ladies, good afternoon. It is Sarah Shipton here from Scrapbooking with Sarah. I am coming live to you today on Feb 3rd, but I'm actually doing our Technique Tuesday for last Tuesday, which is Jan 27. I have been chasing my tail all of January and I am thrilled to be finally caught up. So we are going to have a double up of scrapbooking layouts and Technique Tuesdays this week. So this is our last challenge for January, week 4, and it features products from the leftovers of my currently loving scrapbooking workshop kit, paired with its coordinating products from the Lovely Blossoms Sweet Collection. So I'm going to run through all of these goodies here with you this afternoon. We've got Miss Sonia watching. Hi, Sonia. Thanks for joining us live this afternoon. I'm excited to share this layout with you all because this is a layout that I can see me creating again and again and again. So let's get right into it. We are creating a double page scrapbook this week, double page scrapbook layout. This week, we are turning a single page into a double page layout using a new featured pattern. This is called the main frame. We're doing the main frame 4 square. I've taken a pattern from an old scrapbooking program book. It's called Reflections. If you've got this book, it's on page 52 of your how-to pattern. If not, I have posted the pattern in our Facebook group. Pauline from Canberra has joined us as well. Hi, Pauline. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. So this was a really quick and easy layout to whip up, as I can see that some of you have already done. You are going to need 2 sheets of cardstock for the base pages of your scrapbooking layout. Let's take these out of the memory protectors. I've actually got them in the memory protectors with some flip-flaps over the top, so we'll come back to those afterwards. You are going to need 2 sheets of cardstock for your base pages, or you might opt to use pattern paper, designer series paper. I have used crumb cake here, and I've used the lighter tone of crumb cake, okay? So this is, you can see it's darker. If I say crumb cake, it's just the normal color. If it is the lighter version, I will say I have used the lighter version of the color, in this case crumb cake. And you are then going to need 2 pieces of designer series paper to cut all of your squares. Okay, so you will get 4 squares out of 1 sheet and another 4 squares out of a second sheet. So I have used the Lovely Blossoms designer series paper, 12 by 12 inch. So we've got this gorgeous stripe pattern in cloud cover, and then we've got this fun little petal pink designer series paper. It's got a cross pattern on it. So I did invest in a second packet of the designer series paper. I used most of the leftover paper that I had in my scrapbooking workshop kit, but today I'm really running through mostly the leftover stickers that I have used. I don't have many leftover stickers at all. And in fact, I've actually already taken the leftovers out of my office. So with your designer series paper for your squares, you're going to cut your squares at 5.5 by 5.5 inches. Okay, and so 4 of them will be 5.5 by 5.5, and the other 4 in a different designer series paper at 5.5 by 5.5. And then this is really easy with this pattern because you're going to stick the first square in the top left hand corner 1/2 inch down and 1/2 inch in, and once you've got that first square in, you will be able to coordinate the other squares in really easily. This is my favorite bit here in the middle. Now I did do something a little bit different with this pattern, and instead of having the 7 by 7 inch photo in the middle here, which you can still do if you want, that's entirely up to you, I have opted for 4 photos measuring 4 by 4 inches. Okay, and so because I've got 4 photos measuring 4 by 4 inches, I'm going to need 2 sheets of cardstock here in the middle. I've opted for Petal Pink and I've used the lighter side of Petal Pink cardstock. You are going to cut that square of cardstock at 8 1/4 by 8 1/4 inches. And that's how I've been able to perfectly fit 4 photos measuring 4 by 4. So this would be a great layout really for any photos, but specifically I've used them here for travel photos. These were taken in Barcelona back in 2018. So yes, that is 8 years ago. Many of you know I do not scrapbook chronologically. I will use printed photos first and foremost to scrapbook. If I've got them already sitting in my photo organizer, I will try to scrapbook photos that I have already printed. And these days, I really only print photos when I'm ready to scrapbook them. So for example, I'm going to be featuring the Beach Time and Beach Boardwalk products in my February events and across my social media platforms. So I've specifically gone through my device and found beach or summer or swimming pool related photos. And in some instances, I've actually found some photos on my device that just coordinate with the suite of colors that have been used in the Beach Time Scrapbooking Workshop Kit, or that feature in the Beach Boardwalk Suite collection. So I will specifically go through my device now and look for photos that coordinate with those papers. So I don't scrapbook in chronological order, but I like to put my layouts into chronological order. And I probably do that, I would say, once every sort of 3 to 4 months. Like I develop quite a pile. If you think about it, I'm creating 7 to 8 double page scrapbook layouts every month. There's 3 in the Scrapbooking Workshop Kit. And then if we've got 4 weeks in a month, that's another 4 layouts that I'm creating to share with you as part of our weekly scrapbooking challenges. So it doesn't take me long to develop a bit of a pile of scrapbook layouts that then need to be put away in their home. And if you follow me on the socials, on either Instagram or Facebook, just search Scrapbooking with Sarah. I actually posted a cute little reel on the weekend of me, you know, in real time, actually sorting and organizing those layouts into their homes, into their albums. So whether they've gone into a annual album or in this case, this will go into a travel album. These photos were taken, as I mentioned, in Barcelona, and it was while we were on a Mediterranean cruise as part of an incentive trip that I earned with close to my heart. So I digress a little bit, but I wanted to share that with you because quite often I meet people that like, oh my gosh, I'm so behind and I'm not up to date. And you know what? Like I've got 76,000 images or videos, 76,000 items in my Photos app. I'm never going to scrapbook 76,000 photos, and I don't want to scrapbook 76,000 photos. I've got these photos of these beautiful buildings. I love architecture. Quite often when we travel, I will take photos of buildings and architecture, and I just love getting that vibe. When I look at these photos, it literally takes me right back to that moment when we were strolling down the I'm never going to be able to pronounce this properly. I'm not even going to attempt it, but we were strolling down this particular street. I don't know what they call it in Barcelona. It's like PG. de la Garcia, I think was the name of the street. But we were strolling down this particular precinct, and it's literally like a pow, pow, pow of all like these buildings and beautiful architecture. I mean, like even the seats that you sat on the side of the road, and the street lights, the lamp posts, like it was just stunning. It literally took my breath away. So this layout will actually go into that album of that particular cruise. Okay. So I know that this will be a pattern that you will recreate time and time again. Super quick, super easy to put together. And I'm going to demonstrate to you today how I have popped this large square up on my scrapbook layout. And the reason this technique, I love this technique so much, is because when you have got pattern paper, when you're putting cardstock on top of pattern paper, or sometimes pattern paper on top of other pattern paper, it can get a little lost. And especially in this particular instance where I've got like this collage of 4 photos with very similar tones and they're butted right up against each other with the buildings, having that popped up on these dimensional, with these Stampin' Dimensional strips, they're foam adhesive strips, using the foam adhesive strips to pop them up, it really just helps to lift and showcase and stand out the main attraction, which are your photos, okay? So I'm going to demonstrate that to you first and foremost, because this was a product that I had not used before. You're also going to get a little bit of a sneak peek on our first challenge. I'm just going to grab my mat. This is a sneak peek on our first challenge for February, which I'm actually going to post either today or tomorrow, and then we won't be behind anymore, and we will be cooking with gas moving forward. I think what I've decided for 2027 is I'm literally just going to skip the first week of January, because we don't really start sharing new product until, well, in every month we share new promotions and new product on the first business Tuesday of a month. So today is Tuesday 3rd of Feb. I've sent my newsletter for February. I've been posting what's new and exciting all on the social media, because today is the first business day of the first business Tuesday of the month in Stampin' Up! Land. And we work that way because our home office is in Salt Lake City and Australia is ahead of time. So it's already Tuesday the 3rd here, but it is not Tuesday the 3rd. Well, it might be now. It will be after midnight there in their time. Actually, no, it is. I think, yes, they are already awake there this morning. So the reason we do that is that, let's say, for example, in Australia, the first falls on like a Sunday. We have no business support until our time, like Tuesday, midday, okay? And so if anything goes wrong with a promotion or a link, or you can't add a free item to your cart, or you can't redeem a coupon or something like that, imagine trying to do that on a Sunday and it not being resolved until your time on a Tuesday. That would be super frustrating. So that is why we wait for the first Tuesday of the month in Stampin' Up! Land, business Tuesday of the month in Stampin' Up! Land. Okay, so again, I digress. That's one of the things I love about going live. There's no rhyme or reason. Whatever just pops into my mind that I want to share with you, I share with you. So let's get to this. Now I want to demonstrate. Here's one that I have prepared earlier. This is going to be our double page spread, our first challenge for Feb. So this is next week's pattern in the book. I'm going to give you some extra time to complete this. But can you see here what I have actually done is I have lifted up my beautiful patterned water paper on top of this pink and yellow ombre paper, just to help lift that, and so it doesn't really get lost on the ombre paper here. Okay, so I've already done that here on that side, and I want to demonstrate using the foam adhesive strips to you on this side here, and we're going to stick that down live together. So a couple of things I've done here. I've actually gutted the inside of my 12 by 12 piece of white willow cardstock. This is going to be the base of my scrapbook page, and I recorded a quick 3 to 4 minute video doing that this morning, and I have posted that in our Facebook group and on our Facebook page. I will link that to my YouTube as well. So this gutting of your scrapbook, of your base page, is a good idea to do to relieve some of the weight in your album, the thickness in your memory protectors. Sometimes I'm just lazy and I don't do it. In this instance, I wanted some extra white cardstock to be able to map my photos with without actually using another sheet of 12 by 12 inch cardstock. I keep a bag of all of like my white willow scraps in handy to be able to do matting of photos, which I quite often do in the white willow. You can see I need to put a new blade in my trimmer here because it is feathering the cardstock. I will also gut my base paper if I use designer series paper as my base and then I put cardstock over the top. I don't want to cover a whole sheet of designer series paper with other paper or cardstock, so I will quite often gut the base page of my scrapbook layout if it is pattern paper as well, because I don't want to waste that gorgeous paper. Okay, so you can see here I've got white willow as my base. I've got this ombre pattern over the top, and then we're going to stick this piece of paper with my photos. I have already matted my photos on here because, a little tip for you, I actually put the foam adhesive strips onto the designer series paper first, and then I went to actually stick my photos down on top, and you can see where there's gaps in between my foam adhesive strips. So it was easier, I thought, this time around, easier to put my matted photos onto this piece of paper that I've cut down first before I put my adhesive strips on here. Now, I'm not going to worry about measurements and all that jazz for this today, because I'm going to run through this with you in a live video probably tomorrow, and you will have some extra time to create this. But let's get our foam adhesive strips on here. So these are a packet of foam adhesive strips. They're $14.50 for the pack, and you get 40 individual strips. So 2 sheets of these. You can see I've already gone through 1 sheet. And so the reason I'm using these, which especially for this particular instance was very handy, the reason I'm using these is that if I was going to use my dimensionals, whether it be, oh, that's not what I want. You can see I'm getting right down to the scraps here. If I was to use my Stampin' Dimensionals or my mini Stampin' Dimensionals on a piece of paper like this, or in this instance, this 8 1/4 by 8 1/4 inch cardstock, I would be there forever putting dimensionals on. I would need, you know, several across each side, and then also some in the middle here to prevent that from sort of sagging in on my layout. So this is where I use my foam adhesive strips. And in fact, the thing that I love about these foam adhesive strips is I think they are a little thicker than the actual Stampin' Dimensionals. Okay, so if you've used these, let me know and tell me if you agree with me. So what I'm going to do here, I've got my strip, and it doesn't actually, it probably has got the measurements on my inline store for the product, but I'm just lifting a strip off and I'm putting that as close to the edge as possible. Now you can see that it's going to be too long for my paper, so I'm just going to grab my little scissors here and I'm going to snip off this excess bit. If there was quite a bit of overlap or overhang in the adhesive there, I would absolutely be keeping that and putting that somewhere else on my paper, which I'm going to be showing you shortly. But for that tiny little bit there, I'm literally not going to bother. I'm going to try and get this as close to the edge and the top of my paper as possible. You can see we're going to go just slightly over, so I'm just going to cut that off and I'm going to pop that in the bin. I'm not going to bother with keeping that because it's literally not even going to do anything. So here we go. Here I've got this long bit here, and I only need to fill this piece here. So I'm going to cut this just on the inside there. Oh, and then we are going to use that bit to go on the end here. I'm going to cut that off. This I'm not going to throw out. Oh, it sticks pretty good. I'm just going to pop this here on the inside, and I'm going to put some of these strips. So I don't use the long ones very often. I use mostly the Stampin' Dimensionals or the minis. But for this today, I'm going to put some in the middle. And then I'm just going to pop another bit here like that. Okay, and that's fine. That's done. If it was a larger piece, I would probably put a little bit more through the middle there. I'm just going to get my little Stampin' Up bin close by. How cute is this? You can't get these anymore, but I found them online. One of my fellow friends who'd been a Stampin' Up demonstrator for a really long time, she posted a photo, and I was like, oh my gosh, do you have any more of those? And she's like, yeah, I have. I'm like, excellent. So I bought them from her, and I really hope that we can get Stampin' Up bins again later, because I've got them in my workshop room and they're so fun. They fold down too, so we really need some more merch. I love me a bit of merch. Okay, so what I'm doing here now is I'm just peeling off the backing of this with my nails. Do you like my new colour, girls? I got my nails done on Saturday. This is Pool Party, ready for our beach time layouts for February. Even though I'm running a week behind, it kind of goes with last month's in the cloud cover with the blue. I'm going to actually tell you why I chose those colours as well. I forgot to mention that. Okay, so I'm just taking off all the backing there. Oh, very sticky, very sticky. And we want to line this up. I really wish Stampin' Up! Had a mat like this too. I know they've got the glass mat, but it just does not do the same. I've put this in the suggestion box. So if you are a demonstrator and you're watching my videos, can you please put this in your suggestion box as well? Because this mat is just the best for scrapbooking. You never know. We might get one as part of the new annual catalogue. Okay, so I'm sticking this down. Oh my gosh, I love this already. I'm obsessed. How good does that look? So I've got that flush up against the edge of my paper here. It's 1/2 inch down. I'm going to go through this in a bit more detail. And look at this now. Lift it up. I love it. How good is that? With the foam adhesive strips on here. Oh, it looks so good. It looks so good. So I just love that when you've got that bit of paper that you don't want it to look super busy on top of your designer series paper. You want it to pop and stand out a little bit more. I just love that so much. You want to do that with like a feature photo. So as if we're not going to have Saz and Daz here with our feature photo. Darren doing a little bit of fishing there. You can't even see the rod, fishing in the water. And me, of course, doing nothing, sunbaking and relaxing. One of my favourite things to do when we go over to York. So I'm just going to bring this back into view. So you're going to want to add these foam adhesive strips to your shopping list, girls, for sure. I will post links in the comments below for this. And when I finish using all my foam adhesive strips in here, do I cut the outside border down and use it? Absolutely, yes, girls. I'm going to be thrifty with my crafting for sure. And as you can see here, I've finished all the inside of my Stampin' Dimensionals, and I'm actually just with my scissors cutting off those little pieces there to use on my scrapbook layout. Absolutely. Of course I am. So coming back to our main layout, this is how I've used the foam adhesive strips. I've run them all along the outside. Now, you can see here the strips actually hung over, so I cut the excess off and then just met it here as well. So I did use those little bits on the inside there. Have I got this run the right way? Yes, I have. Okay, so coming back to this layout, that completes the foam adhesive sheets strips that I wanted to share with you. Now, the square of your, if you're going to do the 8 1/4 by 8 1/4 like I have here, before I stuck that down, I basically just lined, I used where my photos met here to make, I eyeballed it to make sure that my square was centered, using where the papers meet here and here to stick that down. And then in terms of my embellishments, I've used some of the leftover stickers from my Currently Loving Scrapbooking Workshop kit. I have finished off the flower accents. These are just plain white. So there was like some flower accents in one of my Technique Tuesdays earlier in January. I did the ink blending. You can go back to watch that on my YouTube. I've added some of the little glossy matte dots. So these colors coordinate with the Moody Palette glossy dots, coordinate with the Currently Loving and the Lovely Blossoms. And last week I demonstrated, you'll be pleased to know, Pauline, thank you so much for your tip on that embossing folder. Can I share with you that I actually found out that this embossing folder is in fact a 3D embossing folder. If you go to my online store and you type in the Lovely Stripes embossing folder, in the product description, it actually has 3D embossing folder, but it does not have it here on the product. So I have actually sent an email to Stampin' Up! About that. That is why I was having so much trouble last week. I felt like such a dum-dum. That is why I was having so much trouble last week when I was demonstrating the Lovely Stripes embossing folder to you. I was struggling to get it through my embossing machine because I was using my 2 3 plates, and you don't need to use your 3 plates. You actually need to use your 1 and 4 plates with this embossing folder. So I wanted to point that out to you. I demonstrated this last week, and I had some of the embossing paper, what I demonstrated last week, I've actually used it here on my scrapbook layout. So I just trimmed it down where the embossing folder meets. I've cut a little dovetail into it, and I've used these on my layout today or this week as some of the embellishments. How cute is that? Oh, I haven't used it here. I've used it here. So I actually trimmed it up using my Stampin' Trimmer where the lovely stripes met, and I've used them as little embellishment features. Is that not the cutest thing ever on my layout? And another little tip I want to give you with these flowers, because they are so thin, you are going to want to use the pen tip of your Tombow multi-liquid glue. Okay, so you can just put some little dots in the corners on the outside of the smaller flowers, and I have now used all of those up on my layout. So they are my tips for you with your embellishment clusters. Oh, the other thing I did to use up these stickers, so you can see I've got the numbers 2, 3, 6, 4, 7 in no particular order whatsoever. I'm going to slide these back into their memory protectors because I've used flip flaps here. So with my flip flaps, I usually put the best or my favorite photo, the one I want to showcase, on top. And of course, that's going to be Saz and Daz in Spain on the front. Absolutely. Isn't like just the tone of that? My tone of my foundation works perfectly with my pattern paper here, our skin tone, those warm tones. And here with the flip flap, look what I've done here. I've made a journal box and I've put it in the back of my flip flap. This is the leftover petal pink that I demonstrated last week with the lovely stripes embossing folder. I've cut that down to 4x4. The leftovers I've used here with my embellishments. So cut that down, and then I've also cut a little 3x3 square of white willow cardstock, and I've turned this into my journal box. So I've got here Everywhere We Turned in Barcelona with stunning art and architecture, the buildings, the stores, even the seating and lights on the streets we passed. I've got 2 here, and I've outlined here. I actually taught the numbered journal box technique back in December. So I've numbered the photos with my stickers using the leftovers from the scrapbooking workshop kit. I've actually journaled that here and correlated it with the number stickers. So I hope that makes sense to you with the journaling. Sometimes I'm not very good at explaining things, so I'm sure that makes sense to you. And there we have this week's scrapbooking layout. Sticker 2 is for photo 2. Sticker 3 references number 3. I have actually journaled it in order, but I've just randomly put the stickers on there, and I've used the stickers that were left over from my scrapbooking workshop kit that I didn't use on the previous layouts, which is why it's not 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like 2, 3, 4, 6, and it doesn't matter, guys. It doesn't matter. Okay, so that is this week's layout for you. I hope that helps. I hope you have enjoyed seeing how to use the foam adhesive strips on your scrapbooking layouts. I can't wait to see what you have created this week. Please post your challenge in the group before next Tuesday. I'm going to be drawing our January winner next week, and I'm going to be giving away some of my stamping rewards. So good luck, everyone. Have a great week and keep cool for those of you in Adelaide. Thanks for watching, Emily, Sonia, Pauline, anyone else that's joined us. I can't see, but thank you for watching. I will post this video to our Facebook group and put links in the comments below. Bye for now.